Okay, so changing our order a little bit instead of talking about Surat Petach, but I think there is still a connection a little bit to Eruvin. Um, Last night in Rashi class, we were learning a little bit about the Mishnah in Pirkei Avot that talks about the 10 things that were created during Twilight on Erev Shabbat, on the eve of the sixth day. There's actually an argument between the Rishonim if the sixth day was actually Friday or not, but let's assume that it was. And so the Mishnah says, so first the verse in the Parasha says that Abraham looked up, lifted his eyes, and saw that behold, there's a ram caught in a thicket by its horns. And Abraham went and took that ram and offered it up in place of Isaac. So Rashi comments, it was predestined for the purpose from the 6 days of creation, and that's from Mishnah and Avot. We have it says here 5:5, but it's 5:6. And so the Mishnah says the following: 10 things were created on the eve of the Sabbath at twilight. So twilight basically means, according to Halacha, between sunset and the coming out of the stars. Um, because of most of the stuff is related to actual biblical prohibitions, we are machmir to what's called nightfall, which is almost 40 minutes after sunset. Um, and the reason we have to do that is because, for example, if a healthy baby boy was born this evening between sunset and the stars coming out, we are not allowed to circumcise him on Friday because it might be the seventh day of from his birth, because that's already after sunset, but it's still light outside. We're not allowed to circumcise him on Shabbat because it might be the ninth day. Yes, because so Friday, Shabbos, it might be the ninth day, and we're not allowed to break Shabbat for a bris that is not done on the eighth day. That's a general rule, and there's many different examples. And so we postpone it to Sunday for this bris. So this time of twilight is also, according to this Mishnah, very miraculous, where these 10 things, almost like last minute thought, were created, and we'll see the common denominator. First, the mouth of the earth, which swallowed Korach and his rebellious gang. And Rabbi Gladstein gave a class that it's a reenactment of the mouth of the earth that opened its mouth to swallow the blood of Abel when Cain killed him, but that's not for now. Second, the mouth of the well of Miriam that traveled with the Jewish people in the desert. The mouth of the donkey, of course, Balaam's she-donkey, who opened her mouth to tell him, to rebuke him why he was hitting her. The rainbow, the manna, the staff of Moses, the shamir. Shamir was a miraculous worm or some kind of other material that was used to cut the rocks of the breastplate of the high priest, and also maybe all the rocks of the Temple Mount, because they weren't allowed to use metal. The letters and the writing, so that the idea of the letters and the writing of the tablets and the tablets themselves. And some say also the demons, the grave of Moses, and the ram of Abraham, our father. And some say also a tongue made with tongs, because the very first tong that you make, in order to pull it out of the fire, the blacksmith has to use another pair of tongs. So where did he get that very first tongs? So this is an extra opinion. So the question that I had last night was basically, when we say that there's 10 things were created, and then we add another three, including the ram of Abraham, and then some say also these tongs, does that mean that these two other opinions, two anonymous authors, are trying to replace part of the 10, or are they just saying in addition? And so I think that the answer is, and I will check it again during the week next week. I think that the answer is that these are in addition, and because they're not miracles that are specifically for the betterment of mankind and specifically miraculous for the purpose of the Jewish people. So The mouth of the earth for sure was for the purpose of Hashem's glory, to basically prove that Korach was wrong. The mouth of the well, traveling in the desert. The mouth of the donkey for sure, even though the Jewish people didn't know about the story of Bilam until Moshe wrote it in the Torah. It was still very much for the purpose of him stopping his way to curse the Israelites, but to return. The rainbow is a miracle for all humanity, that Hashem remembers the covenant. The manna, the staff of Moses, which did the most of the 10 plagues. The shamir, the letters, the writing, and the tablets, all relating to miracles that are related to the giving of the Torah and the building of the temple. So those 10 are actual miracles that are needed for the people of Israel, and the rainbow maybe as an exception for the whole world. And when we say, and some say also the demons, the grave of Moses and the ram of Abraham, those aren't necessarily miracles. The demons, according to Bartanura, were created just as Shabbat was entering, and so they remained as spirits without a body. I'm not going to get into it, but we just had Halloween last Friday night, so the grave of Moses, again, it's not a miracle, it's just that we are not aware of where this place is, and so it was concealed from us. And the ram of Abraham, a ram was created as part of the creation of the fifth day anyway, of the domesticated animals. So it's not a miracle. It's just that Hashem had to point out this idea that Abraham take this ram instead of Isaac. And the tongues, I don't think it's a miracle. I mean, maybe the very first one was created by fire by Hashem, but it's not something that we couldn't live without, or that we couldn't survive without in situations like the desert. So tying this to the first to the idea of Eruvin, very weird, I think, is that the first two mouths, the mouth of the well and the mouth of the earth, actually do relate to the law of Eruvin. The Talmud tells us that if a well is in Rishut Rabim, even if it is a public domain according to the Torah law, with all of the requirements and the details of 16 amot and width, and that it has to be from side to side of the town and everything. If there is a well in this street, or even if it's on the side of the street, that well is considered Rishut Yachid, as long as it's not, the mouth of it is not wider than 4 amot by 4 amot, approximately 6 feet by 6 feet. I can't imagine somebody opening a hole that big in the middle of a public domain. And the mouth of the earth, we don't know how large it was, but again, it would be separate from the public domain of the camp of Israel, where we'd learn all these details of what a public domain really is. And so if it was in fact the mouth of the earth that opened to swallow Korach and his followers, then again, this was Hashem creating a private domain where these people will be for eternity, according to the Gemara. The Gemara tells us about Rabbi Bar Chana, who went in the desert on a tour, and this Arab tour guide showed him the place where Korach and his followers are buried. And then it says that the mouth of the earth basically covered itself up. So again, a private domain within the public domain. And last but not least, the connection to this Parsha, Rabbi Yoshua Rubinstein from YU explained that the mouth of the well is not only the well of Miriam, but it was already revealed to Hagar and Ishmael in this week's Parsha when they were kicked out of the house just before the Akedah. And so the idea of the mouth of the well being revealed and being opened, that her eyes were opened and that they were able to drink from it, was, again, to glorify Hashem's name. So even though it wasn't directly for the people of Israel, because Isaac was only a young lad at this point, it is part of the saving of the world and of Hashem preparing everything from already day 6 for the final redemption, for the Geulah. And that's why on Rosh Hashanah, the main memory that we talk about is the memory of the shofar, which came from the ram. But again, Rabbi Rubinstein pointed out, so if you would think that the Akedah is so important, and for Rosh Hashanah, whether it was on Rosh Hashanah or not, it doesn't matter. Why don't we read it from the first on the first day? In the Torah, there is only one day for Rosh Hashanah. So you would think that the Torah reading for Rosh Hashanah would be the Akedah. And if you want to talk about Ishmael and other people, then you can do it on the second day, even though it's not in the chronological order. But his answer was because the idea of Ishmael and Agar being able to drink from this well was to reveal that Hashem is already working on the final redemption and the preparation for the Akedah. And so in that way, the Ram of Abraham wasn't per se a miracle, but it is connected to this idea of the mouth of the well, and that Ishmael and Agar were already revealed this water. And of course, the connection between water and Torah is a side point, but we'll stop here and open up for questions.